You know, all right, destructive cults, totalist groups, high control groups, high demand groups, authoritarian groups. I mean, we use these terms, and we use terms like coercive persuasion, coercive control. That term tends to be used more in the realm of domestic violence, actually, but the relationship with an abuser and a spouse, very, very similar in so many ways to a cultic abusive relationship, as we've gone over so many times on the channel here. We use these terms, but you know, I don't know that, other than sort of giving a passing thought to it or a passing definition, I don't know that I've really gone into detail about what is it that makes something, you know, coercive or controlling, overtly controlling, you know, like what's so bad about that? You know, you start breaking these words down, you start looking at the ingredients of it, and you see that it depends. It really depends. And so let's get into this. What's this, you know, what is this all based on, this whole idea of these kind of groups and these kind of abusive situations people get themselves into? And then maybe some situations that people get themselves into that they don't particularly view as abusive, and yet we look at it from the outside and go, oh man, come on. What's up with all that? Well, to a great degree, it has to do with our ideas about control and compliance. Control is the power to influence or direct people's behavior or the course of events. That's a noun definition of control, and verb definition is to determine the behavior or supervise the running of. Funny enough, in Scientology, I really don't find a whole lot of issues with this definition of control that L. Ron Hubbard gave. I don't know where he got it from, but it's a fairly tight, concise definition of control, and its definition in Scientology is the ability to start, change, or stop something at will. And if you can do that, then you control it. And whether that applies to an object, a person, a situation, an event, if you can start it, stop it, and you know, move it around or do whatever you want to do with it, start, change, or stop it, then you can control it. All right, and compliance. What does compliance mean? Of course, we have all the ideas of compliance in terms of complying with rules or regulations, or we're a compliant organization. But in terms of people, compliance has to do with bending, pliant, being ply, or pliant is sort of like you get this idea of a weed or a piece of blade of grass waving in the wind or something. It plies, you know, it's able to bend. And of course, when you are making somebody comply to your will or your intention, then you are making them bend to your will. They are not presenting resistance. They are going with the flow, right, so to speak. And, you know, with the increased pace of our society and how we value and use our time, this has kind of led to an increased potential for us to be in situations where we will unthinkingly comply. I've gone over free will. I've gone over our decision-making processes in earlier podcasts. Whether you agree or disagree with that, I'm pretty sure that you would agree that advertising and other kinds of propaganda or promotional things that we see and hear all day, every day, that we're flooded with, can certainly have an effect on us. I mean, whether you're going to agree that, you know, all of these things are things we have to bow down to, I've never asserted that, but I do think that these things have a, you know, conscious and subconscious effect on us. And the rise of internet cults is going to take advantage of this phenomenon. Without question, it already is. Coercive means relating to using force or threats. So coercive persuasion is influencing someone through the use of force. And coercive control is, of course, like I mentioned, coming mainly or springing mainly from domestic violence issues, is controlling someone through the use of force. Now, that's obviously, you can use the term coercive control to describe any situation, but it tends to get used in that area and subject. If you Google it, you'll see exactly what I mean. Coercion is a form of pressure that can take place on the emotional and psychological level, and sometimes it can involve physical force. You see, when we're talking about force, we're not just talking about physical force. Psychological and emotional coercion are meant to convince a person to change his or her no or maybe into a yes through the use of mind games. In law, coercion is codified as a duress crime. Such actions are used as leverage to force the victim to act in a way contrary to their own interests. Coercion may involve the actual infliction of physical pain or injury or psychological harm in order to enhance the credibility of a threat. And I'm sure, for my longtime listeners, you guys are already connecting the dots here on how all of this works with cults and with the emotional blackmail and the kind of emotional duress that people are put under. In Scientology, this has to do with disconnection, shunning, and other religious groups. But shunning is just a term that's used that we talk about with religious groups, but it occurs in any group, anywhere. When you start bucking the system in any group you're involved in, you're going to get frowny faces, you're going to get resistance and pushback, because you're kind of rubbing up against the group in a wrong way, and they're going to push back. But how much they push back will determine whether you're experiencing any kind of coercion, right? And if you use coercive measures to get people to join your club, it means that you intimidate or force people to make them feel like they have to join. It can take nothing more than a strong sense of authority to come across as coercive, or the intimidation can take the form of physical threats.